Let's begin by finding a comfortable position. Allow your body to settle into the space you're in, whether it's the bed, the floor, or any surface supporting you tonight. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, feel yourself gently sinking into the support beneath you. With every breath, feel a little more grounded, a little more connected to the earth beneath you, holding you. Deep, smooth, and soft breath in supporting you. You are safe. You are supported. Now, bring your awareness to your body. Notice any areas where tension might still be lingering. Perhaps it's in your feet, your legs, your belly, or your chest. Wherever it is, let that tension melt away. With each exhale, imagine releasing it, letting go, allowing your body to relax even deeper. Now, take a moment to simply be here. The day is behind you. Whatever happened earlier today or will happen tomorrow, those things are far away for now. Right here, right now, you are in a space of peace. Let your thoughts come and go like clouds drifting by in the sky. No need to hold on to them. Just notice them and let them float away. Feel the present moment fully. This is your time, your space. You have nowhere else to be right now. Allow yourself to sink deeper into this peace, deeper into the present moment, letting go of all distractions. Perhaps as you settle deeper into this stillness, you begin to feel a sense of gratitude for the comfort of your body, for the shelter you have tonight, for the breath that flows effortlessly in and out, for this opportunity to rest, to reset. Allow that gratitude to fill you, softening your heart even more. Now, imagine yourself in a peaceful place. Perhaps you find yourself walking along a quiet path surrounded by nature. Maybe a forest, a meadow, or a gentle stream nearby. Whatever comes to mind, let this place be full of calm and serenity. Feel yourself embraced by the beauty and peace around you, the air fresh and the sounds soothing. Take a moment to check in with your body once again. It has carried you through the day and now deserves this time to rest. Let any last bits of tension dissolve, leaving you completely relaxed and at ease. And now, with your body settled and your mind at peace, allow yourself to drift deeper into relaxation. As your breath slows, as your body softens, you are ready for tonight's sleep story to begin. a quiet valley, tucked away where the forest and river meet, there was a village unlike any other. The houses were made of stone and wood, with warm, flickering hearths that filled the night with the scent of pine and hearth-baked bread. The roofs were thick with moss, and the gardens overflowed with flowers that swayed in the gentle evening breeze. At night, when the sky turned dark and the stars began to blink open like sleepy eyes, the villagers would gather outside, wrapping themselves in soft blankets and gazing at the heavens. It was during these hours, when the air was cool and the world seemed to slow, that the moon would rise, glowing softly like a lantern hung high in the sky. The elders often said the moon was more than just a celestial body. It was a spirit, a quiet and gentle being who watched over the village, offering its light and guidance. The village children believed that if they stayed very still on moonlit nights, they could hear the whispers of the moon spirit carried on the breeze. Of course, most of them had never heard the whispers themselves, but they loved to imagine what it would be like to listen closely, to hear the soft, shimmering voice of the moon. In this village, the nights were calm and filled with peaceful sounds. The river sang a lullaby as it wound through the valley, and the wind, gentle and cool, rustled the leaves of the trees. Every night, the stars seemed to grow brighter and more beautiful, as if they were all gathering together to share their secrets with one another. The moon, always present, cast its silver glow over everything, making even the simplest things, like the old stone bridge, the quiet paths between the houses, and the flowers that bloomed under the moonlight, seem magical and full of wonder. The villagers knew that the moon was their friend, and they often spoke of it as if it were a kind, ancient soul watching over them, guiding them through the quiet hours of the night. Tonight, however, the moon was especially bright. It hung low in the sky, casting its soft light on the village in such a way that the shadows danced like gentle creatures in the corners of the streets. Tonight, it seemed as though the moon had something special to say, something that only the very quietest hearts would be able to hear. In a small cottage at the edge of the village, a young girl named Luma sat by the fire with her grandmother. The old woman's voice was soft and warm as she told her stories of the moon, stories passed down from generation to generation. "Do you hear it, child?" Grandmother asked, her eyes twinkling in the firelight. "The moon whispers to those who are willing to listen." Luma leaned forward, her chin resting in her hands, and gazed out the window. The moonlight shimmered across the village like a silver thread, weaving through the trees and onto the roof of their little cottage. "What does the moon say, Grandma?" Luma asked softly. Grandmother smiled, her voice drifting like the wind. "Ah, my dear, the moon speaks of many things, of dreams, of the past, and of what is yet to come. But most of all, it speaks of kindness. If you listen closely, it will tell you how to be gentle with yourself and with others." Luma nodded, her heart full of wonder, as the fire crackled and the night deepened around them. The moon was rising higher in the sky now, glowing with a soft, calming light. It felt as though the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for the moon to speak. And somewhere, deep in the valley, it whispered, as the fire crackled, sending little sparks up the chimney. Luma snuggled closer to her grandmother, who sat in her favorite chair, the one with the worn golden upholstery. The warm, flickering light of the hearth danced across the walls, casting soft shadows that seemed to move like living things. "Grandma, tell me more," Luma asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might disturb the peaceful night. Grandmother smiled, her silver hair glowing in the firelight. "Ah, you want to know more of the moon spirit's story, do you?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with a secret knowledge only she seemed to hold. Luma nodded eagerly. She had always loved her grandmother's stories. Each one was a thread woven into the fabric of the world she had grown up in. The village, the forest, the river, the moon, they were all part of the same story, a story that had been passed down for generations. "Long ago," grandmother began, her voice slow and steady, "the moon spirit was not always so distant. There was a time when it walked among us, just as we walk among each other." Luma's eyes widened. She had always imagined the moon spirit as something far away, shining from the sky. But the idea that it had once been closer, walking among the people, filled her with wonder. "Why did the moon spirit walk among us?" Luma asked. Grandmother leaned forward, her eyes softening as she spoke. "The moon spirit came to us in a time of great need. The village was once plagued by darkness. There were long nights where no stars shone, no moonlight filled the sky. The people were frightened, and the crops stopped growing. It seemed as if the very earth had fallen asleep and refused to wake up." Luma shivered slightly, imagining such a time when the world felt cold and still. She looked out the window again, where the moon hung brightly in the sky, comforting her with its steady glow. "But the moon spirit was kind," grandmother continued, "and it saw the villagers' struggles. So one night it descended from the sky, a soft glow surrounding it like a blanket of light. It walked among the people, and wherever its light touched, the earth stirred. The trees began to bloom again, the river started to hum with life, and the stars returned to the sky, twinkling like little promises." Luma closed her eyes, imagining the scene. The gentle glow of the moon spirit spreading warmth and life over the land. She could almost feel the cool night air, the smell of damp earth, and the soft rustle of the trees, as if they too were waking up. "The villagers were so grateful," grandmother said, her voice growing quieter. "They asked the moon spirit how they could repay such kindness. But the moon spirit only smiled and said, 'Live with kindness in your hearts, and you will always find your way through the darkest nights.'" Luma's heart swelled with a warmth she couldn't quite explain. "And did the moon spirit stay with them?" she asked. Grandmother shook her head, her smile soft and wise. "No, the moon spirit returned to the sky, but it left something behind, a gift. Each time the moon rises, it brings with it the reminder to live with kindness, to listen to the whispers of the world, and to trust that light will always return, even in the darkest of times." Luma sat in silence for a moment, her gaze drifting back to the moonlit world outside. She could almost hear the gentle whispers of the moon spirit now, drifting on the night breeze, soft and soothing. It felt as though the moon was smiling down at her, sharing its ancient secret. There is always light, even in the darkest moments. Grandmother placed a hand gently on Luma's head. Now, my dear, you must close your eyes. The moon has much to say, and the night is long. Tomorrow will bring its own stories, but tonight, let the moon's whispers carry you into your dreams. Luma nodded, feeling a deep peace settle over her. She hugged her grandmother tightly before standing and making her way to her little bed by the window. As she pulled the covers up and laid down, she could see the soft glow of the moon through the glass, casting a silver sheen over the room. The world outside seemed to hum with quiet magic, and as she drifted into sleep, she thought she heard the faintest whisper on the wind. Listen, little one. The light is always with you. The next evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars twinkled softly in the darkening sky, Luma couldn't shake the feeling that something special was about to happen. She sat by the window, watching the last bits of daylight fade, her heart filled with the quiet peace of the evening. Her grandmother's words from the night before echoed in her mind. The moon whispers to those who are willing to listen. But Luma wasn't sure what the moon had to say to her, or if she could truly hear its whispers. Still, there was a stirring inside her, a feeling that tonight the moon might be closer, more present than ever before. As the moon rose higher, its soft glow began to spill across the village, bathing everything in a silvery light. The trees, the river, the houses, they all seemed to glow with an otherworldly radiance. Luma felt her gaze drawn out the window, and something caught her eye. There, winding through the darkened woods beyond the village, was a path, silver and glowing, stretching across the ground like a ribbon of light. Luma's breath caught in her chest. She had never seen such a thing before. The path shimmered and sparkled in the moonlight, beckoning her to follow. Without a second thought, Luma slipped out of bed, her bare feet soft against the cool stone floor. She tiptoed across the room, careful not to wake her grandmother, who was sleeping soundly in the next room. Luma's heart beat a little faster, filled with excitement and a touch of wonder. She had heard stories of such things, of paths that appeared in the moonlight, but she had never believed them to be true. With one last glance toward the peaceful room, Luma crept outside, feeling the cool night air wrap around her like a soft, comforting blanket. The village was quiet, the only sounds the gentle rustling of the leaves and the soft trickle of the river in the distance. The silver path lay before her, glowing faintly, almost as if it were waiting for her. Luma took her first step onto the path, the light beneath her feet soft and warm, like the embrace of an old friend. It felt gentle, as though it were guiding her, not pulling her. She walked slowly, savoring the stillness of the night. The trees on either side of the path seemed to whisper in the wind, their branches swaying gently as if nodding in approval. Every so often, a cool breeze would brush against her face, bringing with it the sweet scent of earth and pine. It was as if the whole world had fallen into a deep, peaceful sleep, and she was the only one awake, walking this quiet, glowing path. The path wound through the forest, its silver light brighter now, lighting her way. The deeper into the woods she walked, the more the air seemed to shimmer with magic, the kind that made everything feel just a little bit more real and yet more dreamlike at the same time. As she continued, Luma couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over her. The world around her seemed to slow down, the forest growing quieter, the stars overhead twinkling with quiet joy. She felt safe, as though nothing in the world could touch her while she walked this sacred path. Then, just as she thought the path might never end, she came to a clearing, a small hidden space in the forest where the silver light pooled like a small, quiet lake. The moonlight here was so bright that it seemed to form a glowing circle around her, like a halo. Luma stood still, her breath catching in her throat as she gazed around her. The air was thick with the scent of the forest, fresh and sweet, and the stars above twinkled so brightly that it felt as though the whole sky was alive with light. In the center of the clearing, she saw something that made her heart flutter with excitement. A small ancient stone. It stood alone, bathed in the silver glow of the moon, as if it had been waiting for her all along. It was smooth and rounded, covered in moss with tiny, delicate carvings that looked as if they had been made by hands long forgotten. The carvings were intricate, winding patterns, like the shapes of vines and flowers, and they seemed to pulse with the same gentle rhythm as the silver path that had led her here. Luma knelt before the stone, her fingers tracing the carvings softly. They felt warm to the touch, as though the stone was alive with the energy of the moon itself. She couldn't explain it, but in that moment it felt as if the stone was speaking to her, whispering secrets of the forest, of the moon, of the ancient ways of the world. "Thank you for finding me," a voice seemed to whisper, soft and gentle, like the wind rustling through the trees. It wasn't a voice she could hear with her ears, but one that seemed to reach deep into her heart. Luma smiled, a sense of peace filling her. She didn't need to understand everything. All she needed to know was that the moon, the forest, and the world around her were full of magic, waiting to be discovered by those with quiet hearts and open minds. With a final glance at the glowing stone, Luma stood and turned back to the silver path, which now seemed to gently lead her home, the night once again quiet and peaceful around her. The silver path seemed to glow even brighter now, guiding Luma back through the quiet woods. As she walked, the air around her felt softer, almost as if the trees were watching over her, their branches reaching out in silent greeting. Each step she took was calm, steady, and purposeful, like a quiet rhythm that matched the beat of her own heart. The forest was still and peaceful, save for the occasional rustle of leaves as the wind whispered its way through the trees. Luma could feel the presence of something ancient here, something wise and comforting. It was as though the trees themselves were telling stories of long-forgotten times, stories of the moon and stars, of the earth and sky, all wrapped together in the fabric of the night. Luma's breath came slower as she continued, each inhale filled with the sweet earthy scent of the woods. The glow of the path around her was soft, almost like a dream, and the stars above twinkled brightly, casting their light over the world below. It was a perfect, serene night, and Luma felt as though she were walking through a place that was both familiar and new, a place where time didn't seem to matter. After a while, the silver path began to fade, gently blending into the natural ground of the forest floor, where soft moss and fallen leaves created a blanket beneath her feet. She paused, looking around, feeling the magic of the moment wrap around her like a soft embrace. She could hear the gentle flow of the river in the distance, and the night seemed to stretch out endlessly before her, filled with quiet wonder. Just then, something caught her eye. In the distance, beyond the trees, Luma noticed a soft, glowing light, a gentle golden hue that flickered and danced in the shadows. Curious, she stepped forward, her feet barely making a sound on the soft earth. As she drew closer, the light became clearer, revealing itself to be the flickering of a small lantern, held aloft by a figure standing near a large stone in the heart of the woods. The figure was tall and graceful, with soft fur covering its body and eyes that gleamed with a knowing light. It was a fox spirit as old as the woods themselves. Luma stopped a few paces away, watching with wide eyes as the fox looked at her, its gaze calm and wise. The lantern it held flickered softly, casting a warm golden light over the surrounding trees, making the shadows dance like playful spirits. The fox didn't seem startled by her presence. Instead, it looked at her as if it had been expecting her all along. "Welcome, little one." The fox's voice was like a soft whisper, drifting on the cool night breeze. It was not a voice that came from the air, but one that seemed to echo in her heart, a voice she understood without the need for words. Luma stood still, her heart filled with wonder. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath. The fox tilted its head slightly, its fur gleaming like stardust under the moonlight. "I am the keeper of dreams," the fox replied. "I guard the path between the waking world and the world of dreams. I am here to guide those who seek the secrets of the night." Luma's eyes widened with awe. She had heard stories of the keeper of dreams, a wise spirit who helped those with kind hearts navigate the mysteries of the moon and the stars. But to meet the keeper in person was something she had never imagined. "How do you guard the path between dreams and waking?" Luma asked, her voice filled with curiosity. The fox smiled, its eyes twinkling with ancient knowledge. "It is not a path that is walked with the feet, but with the heart," the fox explained. "Those who seek wisdom must listen, not with their ears, but with their soul. Dreams are born from the heart's desires, and the waking world is shaped by the dreams we dare to follow." Luma felt a stirring within her, as though the fox's words were unlocking something deep inside her, a hidden truth about the connection between dreams and reality, between the heart and the world around her. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with thoughts of all the possibilities. The fox lowered its lantern, the soft glow illuminating a small stone bench beside the clearing. "Come, sit with me," it invited gently. There's much to learn, and the night is long. Luma hesitated for a moment, but then nodded, feeling a quiet peace settle in her heart. She walked over to the bench and sat beside the fox, her eyes scanning the forest around them. The world was still and quiet, the air filled with a sense of magic that seemed to hum softly, like the pulse of the earth itself. For a while, they sat in silence, watching the stars above and the soft glow of the lantern flickering in the quiet night. The fox spoke occasionally, its words like soft whispers in the breeze, teaching Luma about the ways of dreams, the ancient rhythm of the earth, and the importance of kindness in all things. It spoke of how every person's dreams were connected to the world, how the actions of one could ripple out and touch the hearts of many. Luma listened carefully, her heart growing more open with each word. She felt as though she were learning a secret that had been hidden for ages, a secret about the quiet power of dreams and the gentle wisdom of the moon. As the night wore on, the lantern's light began to dim, and the fox stood, its graceful form blending with the shadows. "It is time for you to return, little one," the fox said, its voice soft and kind. "The moon will guide you home, and the whispers of the night will carry you into your dreams." Luma nodded, standing up slowly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the fox's teachings. As she stepped back onto the silver path, the fox's lantern flickered one last time, casting a soft golden glow over her as she began her journey back through the woods. As Luma walked the silver path back through the forest, the warmth of the fox's lantern still lingered in her heart. She felt lighter somehow, as though she had learned a secret that would stay with her always, guiding her through the quiet hours of the night. The woods around her were still, but there was a sense of magic in the air, like the very trees were alive with stories waiting to be told. The path that had been so bright and clear on her way in now seemed to fade softly into the natural shadows of the forest, as if it had always been part of the earth itself. Luma's footsteps were light and easy, and the cool night air kissed her cheeks with a soft, comforting breeze. The fox's teachings swirled in her mind like the gentle rustling of leaves, about dreams, about kindness, and about the quiet rhythms of the world. As she neared the edge of the forest, the soft sound of the river song grew louder, guiding her back to the village. She could see the faint outline of the houses in the distance, their stone walls glowing softly in the moonlight. The familiar sight of the village brought a sense of peace over her. Everything felt just as it should be, and yet she knew that something had changed inside her. She stepped out of the woods and onto the quiet path that led back to her cottage. The moon hung high above, casting its soft silvery glow over everything. It seemed to whisper to her, just as her grandmother had said, "Kindness, little one, follow the whispers of the moon." Luma smiled to herself, the thought settling gently in her heart. As she approached her cottage, she saw the warm light still flickering from the hearth through the window, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the comfort of home. Inside, her grandmother was sitting in her chair by the fire, her eyes closed, her breath steady and peaceful. Luma stood for a moment, watching her, feeling the quiet warmth of the room, the crackling of the fire, and the softness of the night. It was as though the world outside had faded away, leaving only the gentle stillness of this little cottage in the quiet village. Luma tiptoed over to her grandmother, who stirred just slightly, her eyelids fluttering open. She smiled softly when she saw Luma standing there, looking as peaceful as the night itself. "You've been on a journey, haven't you, my dear?" her grandmother said, her voice soft but knowing. Luma nodded, feeling as though she had traveled not just through the woods, but through a world of dreams and mysteries. "I met the keeper of dreams," she whispered, "and the fox taught me how to listen, not just with my ears, but with my heart." Grandmother's smile grew warmer. "The keeper of dreams is a wise one," she said. "But remember, child, dreams are not just the things that come to us when we sleep. They are the things that live within us, shaping the world around us. And the moon, it is always there to guide us, to remind us that there is light even in the darkest of times." Luma nodded, her heart full of understanding. The moonlight outside seemed brighter now, as if it were smiling down at her, offering her its quiet guidance. She felt the soft weight of sleep beginning to settle over her, but before she closed her eyes, she looked out the window at the moon once more. The silver path from the woods still shimmered in her mind, and she could almost hear the whispers of the night, the promises of the moon, and the stories of the forest that would forever stay with her. Luma climbed into her bed, pulling the blankets around her and letting the warmth of the fire and the soft glow of the moon wrap around her like a comforting embrace. She closed her eyes, listening to the soft rustle of the leaves outside, and felt the quiet whispers of the night fill her dreams. The days following Luma's quiet journey through the woods felt different. There was a calmness that settled over her, a quiet knowing that danced in the back of her mind, just like the soft moonlight she had followed. The village, the forest, and the stars above. Everything seemed woven together by invisible threads. Threads of stories and dreams that had been passed down from the beginning of time. It was the morning after her return, and Luma woke early, just as the first light of dawn was beginning to paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. She sat up slowly, her mind still filled with the whispers of the night, of the keeper of dreams, and of the silver path that had led her to that ancient stone. The teachings of the fox felt like seeds planted deep in her heart, and she could feel them slowly beginning to grow. As she stepped out of bed and padded softly to the window, the sight of the rising sun made her smile. She could already hear the sounds of the village waking up, the quiet murmur of morning activity. Farmers tending to their animals, bakers lighting their ovens, and the gentle clink of tools being prepared for the day. But Luma's heart was elsewhere. It was still with the forest, with the fox, with the moon that had whispered to her, reminding her of the power of kindness, dreams, and the quiet magic of the night. She dressed quickly and made her way downstairs, where the smell of warm bread greeted her like an old friend. Her grandmother was sitting at the table, a steaming cup of tea in her hands, her eyes still soft from the night's sleep. She looked up as Luma entered, her eyes twinkling with quiet affection. "How did you sleep, dear?" Grandmother asked, her voice gentle. Luma smiled, settling down beside her. I slept well. The moon whispered to me again, she said softly, the words spilling out with a natural ease, as if the moon's whispers had always been a part of her life. Grandmother nodded slowly, her eyes thoughtful. The moon is always with us, guiding us when we are ready to listen. But there is something more, isn't there? Luma's eyes widened slightly, surprised by her grandmother's knowing tone. What do you mean? There is a gift the moon gives, Grandmother said, her voice soft but steady. A gift of light that can guide us through both the waking world and the world of dreams. But it is not a gift that is given all at once. It is a gift that unfolds slowly as we grow and understand more about ourselves and the world around us. Luma sat quietly, feeling the weight of her grandmother's words. She had always known that there was something deeply special about the moon, something that tied her to the world in a way she couldn't fully understand. But hearing her grandmother speak of it in this way, like it was a gift waiting to be opened, made everything feel more real, more tangible. What kind of gift? Luma asked, her voice soft with curiosity. Grandmother smiled and reached across the table, taking Luma's hand in her own. The gift of seeing, she said simply. The moon's light is not just to show us the way through the night, it is also to help us see the truth of things. The world is full of whispers, whispers of dreams, of stories, of hearts, and the moon helps us listen to them. Luma thought about this for a moment. So the moon helps us see the truth of things, even in the darkest moments? Grandmother nodded. Exactly. When things feel uncertain, or when the path ahead seems unclear, the moon is always there, offering its light. It does not promise that everything will be easy or without challenge, but it shows us that there is always light, even in the darkest places, and it teaches us how to walk in the world with kindness, understanding, and patience. Luma smiled, feeling a deep warmth in her chest. She thought about her journey, the silver path, and the keeper of dreams. She had learned so much already, but she knew that there was still so much more to discover. The moon's gift was unfolding within her, and it felt like the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with quiet wisdom, deep dreams, and a gentle understanding of the world. After breakfast, Grandmother stood up, her movements slow but graceful. "Come, Luma," she said. "There is something I want to show you today, a place where the moon's light touches the earth in a way that might help you understand a little more about the gift you are learning to open." Luma stood quickly, her heart beating a little faster with excitement. "Where are we going?" "To the clearing in the forest," Grandmother said with a smile, "where the ancient stone is, the one that the moon blessed so long ago." Luma's heart skipped a beat. She remembered the stone, its ancient carvings, the feeling of the moon's light wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She had never told her grandmother about that night, but somehow it felt like her grandmother had always known. Together, they walked through the village, the sun now high in the sky. The air was warm, and the scent of pine and earth filled the air. Luma felt lighter than she had in days, her heart full of quiet excitement and curiosity. As they reached the edge of the forest, the trees seemed to part before them, like old friends greeting them with open arms. They followed a narrow path deeper into the woods, the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves above. The forest was alive with the soft sounds of nature, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the gentle whisper of the wind through the trees. And soon they arrived. There, in the center of the clearing, was the ancient stone. Its carvings glowed faintly in the afternoon light, just as they had under the moon. But today, the stone seemed different, alive somehow. The air around it felt charged with quiet energy, as if it were waiting for something. Grandmother stopped a few paces away and turned to Luma. "This is where the moon's gift lives," she said softly. "And now, it is yours to discover." Luma stepped forward slowly, her fingers tracing the carvings on the stone once more. This time, the touch felt deeper, more meaningful. She could feel the pulse of the earth beneath her feet, the beat of the world itself. And for the first time, Luma understood. The moon's gift wasn't just about light in the darkness. It was about seeing, truly seeing the world, with a heart full of kindness and understanding. It was about listening to the whispers of dreams and walking gently on the earth, following the path of light the moon had laid before her. As the sun began to set, casting golden light over the clearing, Luma knew that her journey was only beginning. And whatever came next, she would walk it with a heart full of light, listening to the whispers of the world and following the moon's gift wherever it would lead. The days grew shorter as the seasons shifted, and with each passing day, Luma found herself walking more often in the forest, seeking the quiet and peace that it offered. The lessons of the Keeper of Dreams still lingered in her heart, and the teachings of her grandmother had taken root within her soul. The gift of seeing, the gift of kindness, and the quiet whispers of the world now guided her every step, and each day she felt more connected to the earth beneath her feet, the sky above her, and the moon that watched over it all. One late afternoon, as the golden light of the sun filtered through the trees and the air became crisp with the cool breath of autumn, Luma decided to walk to the heart of the forest, a place her grandmother had once spoken of but never explained in detail. She had heard whispers from the older villagers of a sacred spot deep within the woods, a place where the moon's light shone so brightly that it seemed to bring everything to life. Luma's curiosity had been growing ever since her grandmother had mentioned it. The heart of the forest, a place where the magic of the moon and the earth itself converged. It felt like something she needed to find, something she needed to understand. So, on this particular afternoon, she packed a small basket with bread, fruit, and a warm cloak and set out toward the woods. The path seemed familiar, the soft trail winding through the trees like a comforting thread, leading her deeper into the forest. The familiar sounds of nature filled the air, birds calling, leaves rustling, and the distant murmur of the river. Luma breathed in deeply, savoring the scent of pine and earth. Everything felt peaceful, But there was also a quiet excitement stirring inside her. She could feel the forest waiting for her, like a place full of secrets that she was only beginning to understand. As she walked, the trees grew taller, their branches stretching toward the sky like ancient arms, their trunks wide and strong. The air seemed heavier here, filled with the deep ancient energy of the forest, as if it were alive with stories from the past. Each step Luma took felt like a step closer to something important. Soon, she found herself standing at the edge of a small clearing. The sunlight had begun to fade, casting long shadows across the forest floor. In the center of the clearing, there was an enormous stone, much larger than the one she had seen before. It was covered in moss and vines, and its surface was smooth and cool to the touch. The stone seemed to pulse with a quiet energy, as if it were alive. Luma stepped closer, her heart beating a little faster. There was something undeniably powerful about this place. The stone was ancient, like it had been here long before the village had been built, long before the first person had ever set foot in the forest. She knelt beside the stone, her fingers tracing the patterns etched into its surface. The carvings were intricate, much like the ones on the smaller stone, but these were more complex, as if they told a story that could not be understood in a single glance. The symbols seemed to shift and change as she touched them, like they were alive with the wisdom of the earth. Luma's mind raced. Could this be the heart of the forest? The place where the moon's light and the magic of the earth met? She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the energy of the stone flow through her. It was a quiet, steady power, like the heartbeat of the world itself. She could almost hear the whispers of the earth beneath her, the soft pulse of life that ran through every tree, every leaf, every stone. When she opened her eyes again, the clearing had changed. The light around her had deepened, and the trees seemed to glow faintly in the fading light of the day. The air was thick with magic, and Luma could feel the presence of something ancient and wise. She wasn't alone in the clearing. Before her, standing as though it had always been there, was the fox, the keeper of dreams. Its fur shimmered in the dim light, and its eyes gleamed with the same quiet knowing that Luma had seen the night she first met it. The fox stood still, watching her with an expression that was both gentle and wise. The lantern it carried was glowing softly, casting a warm golden light across the clearing. Luma's heart skipped a beat, and she stood slowly, her hand still resting on the stone. "You're here," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. The fox nodded, its gaze steady. "I have been here always," it said softly, its voice like the rustling of leaves in the breeze. "The heart of the forest is the heart of all things. It is where the earth and the sky, the moon and the stars come together in harmony." Luma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the fox's words settle in her chest. Is this where the moon's gift comes from? The fox tilted its head slightly, its eyes sparkling with quiet amusement. "The moon's gift is not given from one place alone," it replied. "It is the gift of seeing, of understanding, of walking through the world with kindness. But the heart of the forest holds the secret to that gift. Here, you can feel the pulse of the earth and the sky, the deep connection between all things. This is where dreams are born and where the magic of the world begins. Luma closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. She could feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath her, the steady rhythm that seemed to echo through the stones and trees, through the very air around her. It was as though the forest itself was alive, breathing with her, pulsing with life. The fox stepped closer, its lantern glowing brighter now. "You are ready to see more, little one," it said. "The gift you carry is already inside you, waiting to be unlocked. But to truly understand, you must learn to listen to the earth, to the stars, to the whispers of the wind. Only then will you see the full beauty of the world and the magic that lies in every moment." Luma nodded slowly, feeling a sense of deep peace fill her. She understood now. The moon's gift was not something she could possess or hold. It was something that lived within her, within all of them. It was a gift that unfolded with time, with kindness, and with understanding. And the heart of the forest, with its deep magic and ancient wisdom, was a place where she could come to remember and reconnect with that gift whenever she needed. As the fox turned and began to fade into the shadows, Luma felt a deep sense of gratitude. She looked around at the quiet beauty of the clearing, the glowing stone, and the tall trees that surrounded her. Everything seemed to be pulsing with a quiet, ancient rhythm, and she knew that this place, this heart of the forest, would always be there for her, whenever she needed to find her way. With a final glance at the stone and the fox's disappearing form, Luma turned and began her journey home, the whispers of the forest still ringing softly in her ears. The moon's gift had not yet revealed all of its secrets, but she knew that with each step she took, she would understand a little more, until the world itself was no longer a mystery, but a beautiful song waiting to be heard. By the time Luma reached the edge of the village, the sky was painted in deep velvet, dotted with stars, and the moon hung low and full, casting a silver hush over everything it touched. The forest behind her was quiet, as if it too had settled in for the night, content in the sharing of its ancient secrets. Luma's feet were tired, but her spirit felt lighter than ever. She had found the heart of the forest, touched the pulse of the earth, and heard the true voice of the keeper of dreams. The moon's gift, once a mystery whispered through stories, now shimmered gently inside her, not as something to possess, but something to live by. She walked slowly through the village, past cottages wrapped in candlelight, and chimneys curling smoke into the night. The warmth of home surrounded her like a familiar blanket, soft and quiet. The dogs were asleep, the chickens roosting, and the world had exhaled into a deep and peaceful silence. When she stepped through the door of her own cottage, the warmth of the fire greeted her, and her grandmother, seated by the hearth, looked up with a quiet smile. "You found it," grandmother said, her voice a whisper, but filled with certainty. Luma nodded, stepping forward and kneeling beside her. "The heart of the forest," she said softly, and the fox was there, the lantern still lit. I listened. I think I finally heard. Grandmother's eyes shimmered in the firelight. "Then the gift is yours to keep," she said. "But remember, it will continue to grow. It will change you gently, like the tides or the wind through the trees." "I know," Luma whispered. "I don't want to hold it tightly. I want to carry it gently, like the moon carries the night." They sat together in silence for a while, the fire crackling gently beside them. Outside, the moonlight spilled across the hills and rooftops like water, soft and luminous. It touched the world with a kind of grace that only those who listened could truly see. At last, Luma rose and went to her room. She undressed slowly, savoring the feel of the woolen blanket as she climbed into bed. From her pillow, she could see the moon through the window, round and glowing. She closed her eyes, and as she drifted off to sleep, her dreams were not loud or wild or tangled. They were soft and luminous, like moonlight on still water. She saw the silver path winding gently through the trees. She felt the heartbeat of the earth, steady and kind. She heard the rustle of the fox's tail and the flicker of lantern light through the woods. The world had grown quieter, not because it had changed, but because she had. She had learned to listen, and in that quiet, she slept soundly, her heart full of wonder beneath the gentle glowing light of the moon.